All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode. Today I have CK Chin with us. He's an Austin restaurateur, entrepreneur, friendly neighborhood giant Asian. So, welcome to the show, bro.
Man, that question was tough already, man. You start off with the bangers. So then, I don't know what my title is, but had to get a little creative with that.
No, I love it, man. So yeah, I always like to start these because I'm always curious of like people's like roots. So what before the restaurants and everything, and maybe it was when you were a lot younger, like a kid, or not at that young, but like what were you doing before the restaurants, and did you think at all when you were a kid that you would be working with restaurants?
0.0% that I'd be in restaurants. Ironically, my first job was at a restaurant. There was this little Chinese restaurant in Houston that hired me under the table at 14. Paid me just cash under the table of $4 an hour. And but
Okay.
it wasn't. It never really became a career goal. I wanted to be a vet actually for years. And that even got me all the way to going to college to go for it. And then in college, I switched over to education, and elementary education. I loved working with kids, and I loved have this need to impact the future, and the belief that there is to be, forgive the cliche, that they are our future and that they needed this kind of work. And then in the middle of all that, as I was kind of working to put myself through college, the hospitality industry just kind of became about. So yeah, absolutely not. I've loved food. My family is very food oriented. I've said that we mourned over food, we celebrated with food, we gathered, everything was all about food. It's very much part of our culture and my family's kind of culture. But it was never a even an idea that I was going to back to a restaurant. Matter of fact, my first time I actually started running a restaurant, it was a nicer restaurant too. As I was a manager of one. My family was kind of terrified. They were like, man, it's like this kid went through college to, went from being to go to med school to a teacher. Now he's working at a restaurant. Like, what in the world? And it's like this immigrant family's nightmare that I was going to be working back in the kitchens again. Their image of it all was a very similar story, where a lot of immigrant families that have come through, and then the job that they got was in the back of the kitchen, picking green beans of a restaurant, kind of thing, when there's no other work to be had. And I think that it took them a while to kind of recognize that this was a viable career and something that I really loved and enjoyed. So, but I think they got there. It took a few days. It took a decade, but I think they got there eventually.
Yeah, but no, there's studies. It normally does actually. I think there's been studies like normally people that like kind of go their own path, if you will. It takes like 7 to 10 years if you stick to it, which most people don't because they give up way
Yeah.
sooner. But 7 to 10, I forget where I learned that from, but once I learned it, it kind of stuck with me because I remember my like first success, I would like say successful year was like 6 years into my business, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty close. And then, but 7 to 10 seems to be the range. So you found like after 10 years in the restaurant business, like things, or seven, or say,
Well, this is more of like, my definition of success varies. I think I'm very
agreed, yeah. I,
different in that. I think that it wasn't a monetary success thing. It was an idea of seeing something to fruition. There's parts of me. I mean, I think that it benefits me to have this personality. It's like, I started doing basic, self-taught graphic design work when I was running this nightclub back in college. And I just still remember how rewarding it felt for even like a club flyer that I taught myself on Photoshop how to make, went to print, and I paid for it. It wasn't like I got published, but there's something very intrinsically motivated for me to see something kind of see through. And I think that was, even in and of itself, before we made our single first dollar, sitting in plans with blueprints and watching sheetrock go up, and then all of a sudden that transforming into a restaurant that all of a sudden we were able to serve our first meal out of. If the place burned down the day after, I probably would have been fine. And not to, like I said, without being hyperbolic like that, but it
yeah.
was just something that just existing, that I still remember that there's this one moment after our first big service and everybody shut down and we're all by ourselves, and everyone left and I just sat in the dark in one of the restaurants listening to the music play, and I just felt it felt really like complete. Like I was like, you know what? It's like we're good, we're done. Like I'm good. Everything after this is gravy. Like I'm set. So the 10 years I was referring to is more of my family recognizing that this was a career. I remember,
Mm.
after I'd opened my second restaurant already, my mom was still sending me job applications, like sending me things from like monster.com, and stuff like that. That was like, hey, I don't know if you saw that Apple's moving into Austin. They're hiring, maybe you should go look there, So it was only a while. It took a while for them to finally come in and, start seeing that the recognition of some level of within the community, or people coming in, and somebody on the plane that she was sitting next to saying that, hey, there's this new restaurant that opened up, and they're like, oh, that's my son's restaurant. And for her to realize that this was a career and not a job.
Yeah, 100%, man. No, that makes sense. It's interesting where, because that's like, I forget who was saying that too. I had a comedian on, his name's Akash. He's been on
Mhm.
too. And it seems it's particular cultures that like they want like doctor, lawyer, or whatever. And if you're not like one of those things, then the parents just think like the house is falling down, or something like that. Is that kind
Yeah,
of
1000. No, 1000%. But I think that is a very common kind of immigrant story. There is a period of time when I think it's a very uniquely modern thought process of having a career that you loved, you know? And I think that
yeah,
I think
right.
prior to that, you picked jobs or careers that were consistent, stable, income that was kind of that there was no real concern that it would leave you in a situation where it could possibly even fail, or just maximizing that opportunity. And so as much as the irony of it all is, especially in Asian culture, there's a huge focus on cultural things. You talk about Asian families, a lot of times the kids were forced to go through piano lessons, and whatever language your family home language was, to learn that part of your culture, and very much about tradition and everything. And then what it comes down to is, if I told my family that I wanted to be a musician, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, you can play music, but this is not a job. Like, that is, being a musician is not guaranteed a job. Where it's funny, one of my projects is called the Hope Outdoor Gallery. Hope, it started out as a wonderful program by my partner Andy Skull, who it's grown into this kind of art collective in Austin. And one of the things we talk about is there's an educational component that we want to make sure that there is a very, and just like any other career, there is a roadmap on how you become a successful, how you can make a living as an artist. It's not a lightning strike, especially now. I mean, there was at one point in time, I think there's a lot more concern, meaning, hey, if you don't get radio play, it's game over. Or, if you're an artist and you don't get put into a gallery, like, what in the world? You're just going to be busking on the street at all times. But nowadays, with social media, and the way that you can do things, and the way that people consume art, there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. You know what I mean? There's not only one right way to do it, but there is a way that I think that you could convince the 21st century parent that if your child has an innate talent or love for the arts and would like to do that for a living, that there is a way for it to happen. There is a way for that to go. You know what I mean? And
100%.
so, and I just don't think that was available to our parents, especially immigrant family. I think you came here and they're like, all right, pick up this book. Which jobs are guaranteed your money? You know what? There's no homeless lawyers, there's no homeless doctors, and there's no homeless engineers. So pick one of them, go do it. It's a respectable career. You're helping people sometimes, whatever you want to say, but you're going to make a career. You're going to be able to do it. You'll be able to support your family. I think that if there was some way to prove to them that any of these other jobs has that level of success rate, then they'd be fine with it. Um, I said that it's funny. Every person I've spoken to that are in the hospitality or creative careers, from an immigrant family, particularly Asian immigrant, there's a moment where you have to like sit down and have a almost a coming out of this closet situation where you'd have to tell your parents that, hey, mom, sit down. I'm not going to be a doctor, and it's just this what in the world terrible this the most horrible thing, and we all dreaded that conversation. But those of us who had it and was able to prove to our parents that this is what we love, our parents still they want our happiness. They want what's best for us too. I mean, I'd like to believe that. So
I think
they get there. It takes longer. It gets there, but I know my share of miserable doctors that went through because they just saw that path all the way through and didn't want to be there, and so I don't know, it takes a lot of gumption to sit there and stand up to your parents, especially in something like this, when they do just want the best for you. But I don't know,
yeah,
for me it was just I had no other option. I know, sorry, there didn't seem like there's another option for me. This is what I wanted to do.
for sure. No, you made a lot of great points there. So it's like I feel like you kind of knew that earlier than I probably did. Like when I could, that's why I always put success in quotes, right? Because it is like
Yeah.
different for
Yeah.
everyone. And for me, it took me first like making money to then realize that you kind of end up, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, where it's like you kind of end up hitting a limit with money. Like, look, it's always cool to have more money, but what I mean is you end up hitting like a limit where you're like, this is kind of weird. Like, more money is definitely not going to increase my happiness in any way, shape, or form. Like, you
Yeah.
once all your basic needs are met, and I would argue maybe a little bit above that, like your needs are met, and then you could take like a vacation. Let's just say once, and this would be a lot, but let's just say once every 2 months, right? If you're like really having fun, like that, that would be considered. But I had to first make the money to then realize that the money didn't change me that much. And I was like, wow, I didn't expect this. Like I thought especially living down in Miami, the yachts and everything, because I've experienced like all that stuff. Dude, after you go on a yacht like 3 times,
Yeah.
the fourth time fucking is not even that fun. Like it's not
Yeah,
like
it's empty if it doesn't have if it's not tied into something that actually means something to you. I
yeah,
think that I never made any decisions based off of money. I just never did.
amazing.
Much to my family's dismay, I it's not a motivating factor for me. It really isn't. I used to joke about having a Forrest Gump philosophy about money. There's the scene, I loved it, where he gets the letter from Lieutenant Dan that he invested in a fruit company, remember Apple, and he said that, hey, I don't have to worry about money anymore. And then he goes, good, one less thing, that's always been it. I just it's never been I never thought about that. Now, granted, I'm speaking from a very biased position. I don't know what it's like to have $1 billion. I don't know what it's like to go and buy up an island or something like that, or do that. I would hope and believe there's a part of me that says that I would make some difference in this world. I feel like there's a part of me that I hope and I wish that if I ever is come across the opportunity to have that level of excess, that I could find a creative and impactful way that can be more, to benefit more people than just beyond my initial circle. Um, it just seems crazy to me every once in a while when you read a statistic that says in order to solve X problems, it'd
I
only be $100 million. And I'm like, I can't believe that somebody hasn't done that yet. I remember thinking about when what's his face, Bloomberg was running for president.
yeah,
They talk about how he spent $500 million on his campaign or whatever, and I'm just like, I wonder, had he just gone to Flint, Michigan and fixed their water situation, it would have cost them $100 million maybe, or something like that. I mean, the amount of news coverage that would have gotten, just been like, hey, why'd you do it? Well, I want to get started I want to be president. I want to go ahead and get started. So I went ahead and started fixing this country the way I thought it should be, instead of spending it on ads. I felt like he would be interviewed by everybody in the world to do that. And then if he just went to like 10 major cities and just said, here, I'm going to give $50 million to the school district or whatever it is and start fixing the things that he felt that needed to be fixed. I felt like people would still talk about that all day, more so than any of these dumb ads that he ran or any sort of these social media campaigns that were garbage.
Yeah.
And you know, and not to say that that's the end all be all, but if that was your goal and he just burned that money in a way, you know, and I just felt like when I hear about these problems that could be solved, and then they're like, yeah, but I mean, what are you going to do? Put $10 million? And I just feel like, I'm like, man, you know what? I know people that have spent that on frivolous things. You know, I've got friends of mine that have a $10 million second home. You know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, well, you know, maybe that's something to do. And again, so I can't speak to me and say that I can, that says that that money, I'm not going to be happier with that. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I'd like to believe that you're right. There is a moment where, and you know, and to a certain extent, I would say that I've gotten close. I'm still right now, if I got some sort of debilitating disease or a massive, you know, some chaotic tragedy. You know, COVID was close when I was like worried that the entire restaurant industry was going to collapse, and we're not fully back yet, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like somebody who has generational wealth that you're just like, yeah, you kind of have to be an asshole to spend all of this money. But I don't worry where my next meal is going to be, and I remember being in a situation where I had to do that. I don't worry how I'm going to pay a bill, you know, because that's at least I've gotten to that point, and that's something that I have a lot of peace with, you know, and
Dude,
I count that very much as success.
I agree. Dude, you're like one of my favorite people to interview because there's some people when you interview them, they don't like elaborate at all. That's like one. So
Mm,
you give no, and I appreciate like because it makes me see every angle. Like there was a few things there that you said. One thing that caught my attention is one of my friends, his name's Joey Coleman. He wrote this book called Never Lose a Customer Again. And what it's about, and it made me think when you were giving the political example. I'm blanking on his name. I'm on Eastern time, so it's a little late for
yeah.
me. The political person that you're saying, Bloomberg, I think. So,
Yes.
like instead of it would be so interesting, and that's what this book is about, is instead of all the marketing spend that businesses, politicians all spend, what if they use that money to actually fix the problems and create a better, if a business create a better product or service? And his argument is actually that customer experience is your best form of marketing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
mean, it's hilarious to me when I see, I mean, new marketing methods always are fascinating to me because there is a way for things, especially the virility of things like I cracks me up and it actually warms my heart. I don't know if you've seen this little kid that's the It's Corn kid on TikTok.
I don't think
Little
so.
kid that just little kid that they interviewed, he's just enamored with corn and he just loves corn and it went viral. It's got millions of views and he's just this just purest, most innocent, you know, just I love corn because corn's awesome, you know.
Amazing.
And then some dude turned it into a song and they loved it. I'll send it to you after this
Yeah,
after we
please
get off.
do. I want to see.
But Chipotle picked them up and used them in an ad about with corn on a
Yeah,
TikTok or whatever it is. And I was like, man, I hope he got paid for that. I hope he didn't get. I hope he didn't get taken advantage of, and they gave him like free Chipotle for a month or something like that. I hope they. I hope he got paid for it. But at the end of it all, we are getting very, very in tuned with our bullshit radar is very tuned in. Our advertising radar is very, very tuned in. The younger generation, my son's even better, you know, recognizing what, and he's 10 years old and he can sit there and go, oh, that's, you know, he's that person's sponsored. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so these type of things, it cracks me up. Like it cracks me up that there's still websites that have like pop-ups, you know, like
yeah,
there's not one time that I mean, there's literally there's programming out there to fix this, and you're still advertising on it. You know what I mean? Like this idea that these kind of more archaic forms of marketing. Yeah, I used to explain it back in the day. Not to say anything. Obviously, I love print media in its own right, but in
yeah.
form of marketing and advertising, I remember somebody on a magazine asked me to come run an ad for one of the restaurants. and it was like $1,500, you know, and and I was like, I don't know what the conversion rate is on this magazine, even though maybe 1,000 eyeballs will get on, 1,000 eyeballs will get onto it a month or whatever it is. Um, I don't know when's the last time I looked at an ad in a magazine that it really swayed my decision to go to a restaurant nearly as much as one friend or even a stranger
Dude,
calling me
that's
and
what
saying
it
to go
is.
try that place. And so for me, I was like, hey, if I had $1,500 to spend on marketing, I would much rather. I was like, I should just stand outside and hand the first 300 people $5 bill and just say, go upstairs and go try out our food on me. You know what I mean? Or something like that. I mean, it's just like, I mean, the conversion rate is just really low. I mean, it makes sense for like real estate. Somebody's looking and sees a couple houses that you're selling or whatever it is, and all you got to do is close one, and that's a cost of acquisition to get that one thing. But in our hospitality industry, I mean, word of mouth is the way to go. Like, it's way better. We have a huge culture of that in our restaurants, which is just saying, if you came into to one of the restaurants and had a great time and really enjoyed yourself, our servers are hopefully trained to say, you know what, man, if you guys are still hungry, I know you were deciding between this and the green beans and the eggplant, and like, we can go ahead and set the green beans out for you because I really think that you shouldn't leave here without having that, and that to me is like one, that's the root of hospitality. That's me growing up, right? My family will feed you until you died. Like, it's just continually trying to provide service and feed you and to really let you enjoy it, and understanding that not everybody's on the same budget. So if you're making a decision based off of that, well, maybe we can help you and send that gift out, or even better, just because we know that this will take it over the top for you to have this experience, and you guys are our target. This is the people that we want to come back, and we just make you feel very welcome in that way. And that's always been our focus, way more so than let's run a billboard so that some random person will come by and check it out because they saw a picture or something.
This is like blowing my mind. I'm being honest because it seems so simple, but I'm not kidding. Like most people, we actually think a lot alike in these things, and I have not met many people that actually like do think like this. And what I mean by that is like when I think about my business, like so you're in the restaurant business, so we help people like become authors and like hit the bestseller charts, right? So that's like our core
Yes.
business. I've been doing it for 12 years since I was 19. And how I
Amazing.
started it is I did it myself and then I helped a few friends for free. I lost money, right? I ate the expense, whatever. They
Yep.
got the same result. They gave me a video testimonial. I had like 10 testimonials after that because I helped a decent amount. And then I made a website with the 10 testimonials. And then I just started to reach out, right? And this is where I wonder how this would work with the restaurant business. It might not exactly, but what I started to do then is reach out to people that had a large group of my clientele, right? So, like a book publisher, although we offer the same things, they normally don't offer marketing, but we do. So instead of trying to find how we're competitive, I found a way that no matter, even if they offer the same shit, that we could refer to each other. So as a restaurant, exactly what you're saying is like, okay, instead of buying a billboard, why don't I just give some people, like when you open up in Austin, just have one night where it's fucking free.
Yeah.
Whatever. Eat whatever that costs. Maybe it's 10, 20 grand. I know that's not a little amount of money, but let's just say whatever it is. And
Yeah.
you invite all the people in Austin to come as much as you can. And then they all come, they all take pictures, they all have an amazing experience. Next thing you know, tomorrow your place is filled with paying customers.
And I'll tell you, that's the kind of root of abundance mindset, right? Versus scarcity mindset. Like, it's just, to me, it is like, I mean, you hit it right on the nose. I mean, when we do what we call soft opening, right?
Oh, okay.
And what a soft opening for us is, opening up without a lot of hoopla before your grand opening. And I call it rehearsal, right? You're finally opening up the doors. We're serving real customers, but you're still learning. We don't know what we don't know yet. We don't know, what's going on. And what we did was we did a couple friends and family, which was completely free. To invite people in to, our friends, to kind of, as a thank you to our investors and to our family that supported us and so on and so forth. But then we did a 50% off soft opening to the general public, starting with friends and acquaintances, for like 2 weeks, because
That's
Two things. Number one, what I realized is when you give someone something for free, you don't get real honest feedback. People feel
got
bad, feel bad about telling you your food isn't as good or the experience isn't as good if it was free. They kind of feel like
makes sense.
I don't have a right to complain. Whereas even if they pay 50%, they they feel like they can say, hey, you know what, I paid $10 for that steak, I wouldn't pay 20, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
um or the steak was overcooked a little bit. I mean, it's $10, no big deal, but
They
they felt
still
like you kind of earned the right to criticize,
yeah.
and which was what we wanted. We always say, hey, protect our wallet, not our feelings. um and then the second part of that is to recognize that we are in rehearsal mode. When people walk in through that door, if you say that you're open, they don't care that your servers only saw the menu yesterday. Their expectation is the way it's supposed to be. We are blessed enough to where when we opened a restaurant, we had enough clout that people were expecting it and waiting for it to come out. But imagine, like, the example I gave my employees were, imagine if you went to a concert of a band that you've been really dying to go see. You've been waiting all year, 3 months to go see this band. And you show up and they strike the first chord, and then they go, wait, stop, guys, that out of tune, start over again. And it'd be like, what are you talking about? They're like, yeah, well, we haven't did sound check. We're just trying to, and you're like, yo, like, this is messing up my experience, right? This is like, you're really kind of taking away the magic. Where the opposite, ironically, is if a band that you loved was saying, hey, you pay half price, you can come watch us rehearse, I might pay to go do that, recognizing that's a totally different thing. And so we realized that really got us to get the reps in that we needed, with the real honest reps of people that we love coming through. They got benefit because they're getting it at a discount. We got benefit because we were able to give. If we messed up and fell on our face, it wasn't as the sting wasn't as bad, is because they got 50% off their meal. It covered our cost, to operate that. And so we were like, we're going to run this soft open until we're ready, because that 50%, you're kind of at break even,
Yeah.
and we can run this indefinitely. Now, granted, we're not making money, but we're
Yeah.
not losing it either. And so we're able to do that. And so I totally agree with you, man. I've said this the other day too, is we just had this exact conversation about the scarcity abundance mindset. And that's like I came up in a time when I was bartending that our owners of our bars were like, you cannot go work for a competing bar. The idea was that everybody in your field are competing with each other. And I just don't have that mentality. I'm like I said, my number one question I get is, where should we go tomorrow? For people that came in from out of town, where should we go eat? I had a great experience here. Where should we go? That's the number one question that every server, every hostess, every bar manager asks. And of course, I'm going to send it to somebody that I want to support.
Yeah.
So we are all a community in Austin. The restaurants that we all are friends with, that we all came up with, like, we send each other business all the time. And because we're not in competition with each other, like, I'm like, yo, these guys came in, bachelor party, had a blast, had great food, great drinks, loved, tipped well. I mean, I sent them your way. They're going to be there Friday. It's going to be dope, and it's like, we all win. Like, where is this idea that you got to gatekeep these customers as if they're not going to go and find another restaurant themselves? It's just
100%.
ridiculous.
Dude, that is amazing. Okay, so that is how it would work. Right now, I've been to Austin a few times, but I don't obviously know, like, how it functions fully in that way. But I would say this: if you don't already, which you probably do already know most, but in Austin, if you don't know all the restaurants, well, you probably don't know all of them, but you know a lot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my method of marketing literally would be this: I would have somebody from your team, not that I'm not trying to give unsolicited, but you're already doing
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. No, 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 I love it.
This is what I would do, is I would have someone from my team, or maybe I'd do it myself, actually, probably, depending on how much time you have. And I would go to literally every restaurant in all of Austin, and I would just be like, hey, I would like to, like, learn more about what you have going on here. Try it out. Obviously, you'd be eating a lot of different meals. You don't have to eat every one, but
Yeah.
it's my best if you did try it. And then
Mhm.
you basically be like, look, this is my restaurant. all I'd like to do is like, we both live in the community. When people come to me, and it has to be honest, right? So you're not just
Yeah,
doing it, but if you truly like the restaurant, they truly like yours, you build that up. And you're the only one, by the way, that's doing this. So here's what happens is you do that, because I did this in the book industry. It's insane. So then what happens is every restaurant in Austin is referring to you because you're the only one that walked to all their doors. And
that's
then
right.
you refer to them. But obviously, to be transparent, you can't refer to all of them because like
Right.
it would be impossible. But I'm just saying your business, if you did that, would probably grow even more. But I don't, are you like fully booked already? I don't,
Yeah, I mean, luckily we're doing okay.
yeah,
We're doing pretty good. Our staffing is probably the biggest problem right now. Just finding
more
workers.
people.
I don't know where. Yeah,
Yeah.
more people
So,
work.
so before you,
Um,
I said find more workers.
there was a that reminds me of this parable that I remember hearing about, and my parents taught me about this. My mother, well, maybe it might have been my grandfather actually, but there's this kind of Dante's Inferno situation where this guy was able to go visit hell, right? And he went down, and they showed him there's this giant table, and tables covered in amazing food, everything that you could possibly think of, delicious everything, and everyone's sitting around the table, and they all have 6 foot long chopsticks. Chopsticks are like 6 feet long, and they were sitting there, and then they were able to you can grab the food, but you can't eat. It couldn't reach their mouth, right? That's the torture, right? You can access it, but you can't actually consume it. And then he thought, wow, this is absolutely horrible, and so on and so forth. And then as it goes, he gets a chance to go visit heaven, and he goes up there, and to his surprise, the exact same scenario: amazing food on the table, sitting around, and 6 feet long chopsticks. But he noticed that in that situation, they were feeding each other. They were grabbing the food and then just feeding each other. And so what
Wow.
the moral of it, I guess, is obviously it's like, well, there's 10 people around this table, and if you're watching out for yourself and you're not able to get for yourself, there's 10 people who just failed. They're not able to do anything. But if you're watching out for each other, now granted, yes, you're watching out for 9 people, but you got 9 people feeding you. So at any given time, you've got a lot of people watching your back. You know what I
Dude, that's
mean?
amazing.
And so it's a similar thing. And I will say one thing: the caveat to all of this is you got to believe in your product, and you have to have a good product.
I was thinking the same thing, 100%.
You
Yep.
know, that's the tough part. I think the hardest part is that I've been in scenarios. I have a small, I still have a small hospitality consulting business now, where I do, hospitality consulting. I help people generally try not to be in restaurant rescue, meaning, somebody's kind of failing, but I try to, efficient and work on operations for people. And if your product is trash, then there's nothing I can do. You can only you're only just basically just tricking people. You can trick people. We can get people into your restaurant for their one time, but they're never going to come back if your product is trash. So
Yeah.
what you're talking about when you're saying, hey, I showed this amount of success and I did it for free, and whatever, that all of that is still contingent on the product working, right? We're not snake oil salespeople, meaning, hey, come in. And that's what always cracks me up. Every once in a while, and I'll get like a bad review, or somebody will not enjoy their meal, which it happens. It doesn't happen as much as thankfully, but it does. And then the people that get so furious about it, as if I wanted that to happen, like I was tricking you to, and you got an overcooked steak, and then they go home and write about it rather than telling us so that we could take it off your bill. I would never charge you for something you didn't like, ever,
Yeah.
even if you just didn't like it. It's wild to me that you think that I'm in the back, like going Mr. Burns style, just like, I sold another shitty steak.
Yeah.
This, oh my God, I got this money for this dude. I tricked him out of this money. I'm like, yo, no, absolutely not. If you didn't enjoy it, by no means would I want you to pay for it. By no means is that this idea. So it's a fascinating mentality when people are like, I didn't want to raise a ruckus, or I didn't want to complain, or this restaurant sucks. I'm like, communicate to people. We've got literally every manner. No, I can't say that. the job of a good manager, a good operator, is there to mitigate these situations. We're going to do our best to make sure that what we're trying to do is great. I don't know a single restaurant owner that tries to make their money by swindling people. So if you have a legitimate, now granted, sometimes they don't care about the product, and maybe that's a volume based thing, right? They have fast food scenario where like, yo, this is a volume game. We serve 100 burgers. As long as 75% of them are good, we're winning. Whereas a nicer restaurant, you're trying to aim for 99.9%. But, I'm not, I just never understood that thought process that we were out here try to trick you out of your money. It's like the product. I want the product to be good. If you didn't enjoy it, give us that feedback. And then eventually I get that feedback enough. I've got to sit here and say, you know what? I really liked it. That's how I cooked it. But guess the rest of the world doesn't like it that way. So either I take it off the menu or I make adjustments or, whatever. But
Yeah.
this idea that that we're, not willing to bend or accommodate those people, it just cracks me up. But
Well, I
I mean,
think
it's
I
what it is.
can actually speak to that a little bit, but first thing is I totally agree. I was literally thinking that is like the caveat to all of this. And I would potentially say that maybe it's why most people don't think of the type of marketing that we're talking about is because they indeed do not believe in their own product, right? So it's such a
Yeah,
crazy thought to have a business where you're like you don't believe in it enough to scream from the mountaintops about it. You know what I mean? Like that you
yeah,
should if anybody listening has that, you should really reflect on that and like sit back and
yeah,
change things immediately. Cause just like you said,
yeah,
I can fill, I mean, I can imagine though, even just going outside, I could fill a restaurant once. I mean, that just by going outside and being like, "Hey, you want to go here tonight?" Like in Miami, enough people on the street. I mean, if I get 1 out of 10 saying yes, I could fill a restaurant. So that's not
yeah,
hard. But what's hard is getting them to come back again. Now, the one thing I think there's actually been psychology like studies on this is that people amplify or they don't mean to, but inevitably the negative is like amplified in our mind.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that might be why that occurs is like the person is so emotional in that state that like they came to your restaurant and for whatever fucking reason, one of the steaks were indeed overcooked, right? It happens. But to them, they were expecting to be a part of that 99.99%, but they were a part of the
yes,
0.01. And then instead of coming to you, they are so pissed that they literally do they get out their phone right there. Cause I've actually like it's weird. I've seen people trying to think of dinners that I've because I'm more the type of person that would be like what you're saying is just like, hey, I just want to be honest. Like, and I would have like 2 bites of the steak, and if I didn't like it, I would just be like, dude, I'm about to pay like $300-400 for this dinner. That's like typical Miami prices. And I would tell him, I'm like, dude, I want another Wagyu. Like,
yeah,
I'm not paying fucking $200 for this if I don't like it.
yeah, one
But I
hundred
wouldn't
percent.
write a bad review though. I would just talk to him, like that.
Well, that's where it is. That's what I mean. Is I understand. Well, I'll tell you what. There's also a weird thing that has happened. I think of this. Um, I don't know how to say it. It's like the confrontation of it is awkward, and people don't necessarily like that.
Yeah.
Bad news, bad experiences do travel faster. You think about this 10 times faster, I think is what the study was talking about. It's you
Yeah.
had a great meal, you might tell one person, but you had a bad meal, you're going to tell 10 people. You'll tell everybody. You'll tell people that was terrible.
Yeah.
And as a warning, I think that's inherent in our psychology and our evolution to say, hey, not necessarily go out there and say, hey, that berry on that tree, was delicious. It's more of like, hey, don't eat that one, they'll die. And then you
Dude,
tell everybody about that. There's got to be some sort of
you couldn't have
evolutionary
said that better, dude.
benefit to that. But I think for me at least, it is this. Um, I think it's also it's a genuine failure on a lot of people hospitality also, that if you don't feel like that's fallen on deaf ears, right? Customer service is such a difficult thing. That's why I feel like it should be mandatory for everyone to work in customer service. So whereas your job is contingent on another person, other humans, interaction, because there's literally, it's funny, I talk about how like after COVID and after the lockdown, like people, some of these people came out feral, like they just forgot how to interact with people, you know,
Yeah.
and and the internet has not helped that, right? I mean, like we talk about, there's something to be said. I think I actually talked about this with Joe, where it's like when you say something mean to someone to their face, there's a fear of getting punched in the face. There's a fear of them having this expression on their face that you know that you hurt their feelings or whatever it is. And that doesn't happen in the internet. And, you know, I said, all you got to do is go read reviews on free shit. Go read reviews on free apps, you know, or YouTube videos. And you're like, this person spent their time, their effort, good or bad, high or low, whatever. And you consumed this for free and you felt it necessary to just shit on them. Hey, this app that's free that took this person a year to program, you can't program. You're not a programmer. 90% of these people aren't. And go, it doesn't do what I want it to do. I wish this was brighter, and I wish this. I don't like the font. 1 star. You know, and I'm just like, bro, like it just kills me that like that's all you got to see to figure out about literally the state of the world that we're in, is that people, you know, like to feel that there's an empowerment thing. I think that feels somewhere feels good to some of this kind of situation, rather than, like I said, that even coming from a position of I want to help you, you know, it just feels awkward, because I think that we're so used to this criticism instead of this idea of, hey, you know, maybe it's just me, but you know, I did order the steak, you know, medium rare. You know, this is a little bit more like well done. And, you know, if possible, I love it recooked. If not, then, you know, just take it off my bill and, you know, better luck next time, you know.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think you hit it on the nose. You know, it's a special, and I say this all the time with the restaurant. It's a special occasion to a lot of people. You don't know what that person did. It might be a first date. It might be a last date. It might be a breakup. It might be a celebration or something like that. And you hold all of that in the palm of your hand, quite literally. You know, I remember I was part of a couple. I've been a part of a number of proposals, you know, and I remember one of the ones was this guy did it through with a fortune cookie at Asian restaurant. And, you know, I have an Asian restaurant, and this is where their first date was. And it was a fortune cookie. And then one of them had the proposal in it. And I mean, I must have like quadruple checked to make sure which pocket to, like, if I messed it up and gave the wrong one to the wrong. I mean, what an amount of pressure
For sure.
to a random stranger at a restaurant. I didn't know this couple, you know,
Yeah.
but man, I mean, tell me that that meal is just a meal. No, that is a pivotal moment in someone's life, you know? And I just remember I was like, yeah, see, like I can tell these servers, I'm like, yo, man, if you're on off that day and you mess up that meal, or that cook didn't cook that food right, and this is their favorite restaurant, and they just really had all this weighing on this not being perfect, and you had to do it, and you messed it up, like you like there's a lot of weight there, and I think that that's where, to me, um, you know, there we also, as a hospitality industry, need to take it more seriously. Like, even though we are just serving food, but there is something more to it, you know, I think also. So that's
Dude, no, without a doubt. Dude, you explain things better than like I'm not even kidding, like anyone. Dude, it's so strange. But, like because we haven't met before, so I'm not used to it. It's awesome.
great.
um, so I wanted to ask you too, because it's funny because we just haven't talked about it yet. But can you tell us a little bit more about your restaurants and what type of food that you serve at them?
Yeah, for sure. How are we doing on time? I know that we're
Yeah, I got another like 5-10 minutes I can do just to.
cool. You know, so I have two restaurants, or actually the third one that just opened up. The first restaurant that I helped open, and I move on from the operations for the first two restaurants. First one was called Swift's Attic, and it is a kind of small plates, shared plates kind of concept. So this one, we are actually having our 10-year anniversary this year. So we've been open for 10 years, which is kind of wild. But when we first came on, this idea of kind of share plates was relatively new, particularly in Austin. I think that probably in Miami or New York, a larger places, the tapas kind of theme had been
Yeah,
around. Austin didn't have it too much. It kind of came out, we jokingly, the chefs and I and my partner, and we all kind of called it like the FUBU of restaurants. It's like a place that we would like to go. I mean, that's how I like to eat. I'm a very shared plates kind of person. This is very Eastern, you know what I mean? Like when you go to a China, Asian restaurant, food hits the middle of the table and then everybody shares. Like I think it's pretty uniquely um, modern, almost American, for you to have your serving of everything on your plate and then nobody else is allowed to touch it. You know what I mean? Like I have my baked potato, you have your baked potato. And it just never, it didn't make any sense to me. I look at it and I go, well, I don't need a whole baked potato. Like I'm one of those people that if you, me, and my wife and your wife, you know, and Kate went to go eat, he'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to get the baked potato. You should get the mac and cheese. And I'll give you some of my potato. I'll give you some of my, you know what I mean? I'm going to take that. And then we can all get, and so that's how we like to eat. And that's kind of the concept of that restaurant, was a very shared experience. So rather than 4 entrees that we would all share with 2 appetizers that we would share or eat, not share, we'd get 6, 7 plates and then we'd all have a couple bites of everything, you know. The next one is called Wu Chow, which was named after my grandmother. I was raised, my father wasn't really in the picture. My family, my mother's family is the Wu family. My grandmother, who fed me and took care of me. My grandfather also raised me along with my mother, who's, you know, the most important women in my life. Her, my sister too. Now, not now with my wife too, but so we named it after her. And it's a farm to table Chinese restaurant. It was just one of those things where uh, Chinese food, a lot of ethnic food was very much kind of for a neighborhood, and that kind of put it at a certain price bracket, right? It needed to be a certain way. And a lot of that time is very, very approachable and kind of, and you're limited. So what you end up doing is you're serving it. In order for it to hit the $7 mark, you had to use this level of ingredient, you know? And I was just saying, well, you know, why can't we do it the other way? Why can't we say, you know, if we used farm, you know, farm to table type philosophy, right? If we use local small farm, organic, free range chicken instead of commodity chicken, like how good would this food be if we did this eggplant dish rather than using, you know, the basic big box, you know, rest of produce that we got it from a local farm? Like how much better would it be, and how much better would we feel about us supporting our kind of community? And so that's kind of how that one came about. And you know, and came to a lot of a great response, because I think generally a lot of people who are very familiar with um, or what they experienced of Chinese food was a lot of this kind of Chinese takeout, that time stuff. But whereas, especially, you know, someone myself who grew up in a very, very Chinese upbringing, you know, there's great banquet halls, and we've had amazing kind of finer dining Chinese food that a lot of people have not experienced unless you live in a place like Miami or New York or California that have these larger populations. But Austin, Texas proper, we just didn't have that much. Um, and then the most recent one, my business partner Chef Sane, and I opened up a with also one of my business partners, Paul. We opened up a little 6-seat omakase sushi restaurant in a speakeasy behind a bookshelf in one of the other venues that I'm a part of. And that came out of COVID. That came out of pandemic, of saying that there's this need for a smaller, more intimate type of things. We're not really wanting to be in a room full of 500 people anymore, or this type of crowdedness. And we had seen this uprising of these little small pop-up experiences that have done very well. And, you know, and I was just like, you know what I love, and this is the abundance mindset coming. We have a 6-seat restaurant. I'm in competition with nobody. If you're worried about my 6 seats, you got bigger problems. You could open up a sushi bar right next to me and I wouldn't be worried about you. We only have 6 seats. So, I mean, we book out within a few seconds every month for the entire month.
Yeah.
Because there's only 6 seats. I mean, in one, you know, somebody messaged me DM me on Instagram about it. They're like, oh my God, I've been trying to get reservations for months. Why is it so difficult? And I can get reservations for the best sushi restaurant in town, Uchi. And, you know, and how could I blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you do realize in one night, they do more covers than we do an entire month. Like, that's why. I mean, we're literally only 6 seats. And so it's a fun experiment, because you kind of take away this worry that we're going to fill up. We don't have to fill up. And we also have this flexibility of we're only serving 6 people. So we can really have some fun with the ingredients. It's a chef's dream, because it used to be, hey, like you said, if I went to my other restaurant and tried to serve Wagyu, it's like, oh man, I'm about to buy $5,000 with Wagyu. I sure hope I sell it before it goes bad. But this one, I'm like, I got to buy 8 ounces of Wagyu, and it's a set menu, so I know I'm going to sell it because it's going to these people regardless if they ordered it or not. And so it's really, really fun, and that's the newest one, and that's
How
we're
long?
about 6 months in.
How long is that experience? The 6 seat? Like, is it like a 2, 3 hour
It's a
type of?
2 hour. It's a 2 hour. We try, yeah, maximum 2 hours. I mean, not maximum. I mean, you can stay and drink, and we have a. We're definitely don't take ourselves as seriously as some of the other places. It's very much based off of Chef Sain's travels. He spent 2 years early on, or, kind of in the middle of his career, right before the pandemic, just traveling the world, tasting other people's food and and his experience. So it's not. I would say that there are a few bites that are very traditional Edomae sushi, but then very much like they've got one of my favorite bites that he's serving currently. I can't guarantee when you listen to this, whoever's listening to this, that's still going to be here for a couple months. But we've got like a Japanese scallop, some Hokkaido scallops, but with a Peruvian salsa verde that he learned from when he was hiking Machu Picchu. Right, that's not traditional Japanese at all. But it still's reminiscent because it has a similar kind of sashimi feel to it, but the flavors are just all out of this world. And so that's probably one of my favorite bites in the whole place. And so, we have a lot of fun. Like we have it's really the personality wise, the reason he and I actually got in business together was because we matched in that way. We had a Star Wars themed night on May the 4th, and we had another night where we do call Sushi with Strangers, where at the 6 seats, you're only allowed to book one seat. So it just made sure that all 6 people didn't know each other. So we're trying to create this conversation piece where everyone can kind of learn and talk to each other and do that kind of stuff. So this is all stuff that I think that I wouldn't risk at one of my regular restaurants, but this one, I mean, we're just having a blast. We're doing something in September for first responders and stuff like that. So it's really been a dream coming from more of a grind where we're like, hey, we need to fill up. We need to do 1,000 covers this week, for us to be where we need to be. And to this one, be like, oh, we don't have to worry about that. We got 6 people. We're good to go.
Dude, that's all. So you might actually know, because I think he started in Austin, and embarrassingly, I'm blanking on his name. But it was because I was actually looking it up because I forgot. I had reached out to him as well to be on the podcast. So I'm a big foodie. So that just, I probably I didn't tell you that, but so I went to his place, and it's similar to what you were saying. I think he books. He was on Rogan too. I think it started. Dude, yeah. So I went to he
Yeah.
opened a spot in Miami. It's in a house.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It has it's like 10 seats, maybe. Like I want to say
Yeah.
10.
Philip's fantastic. And to be fair, he had a similar story. He has, and congratulations to him. Shout out his place in Montecito and California have got Michelin stars. And he does an incredible experience. But that's exactly my point. While the experiences are similar, we're definitely not the same. And we are, and I support him blindly because, like I said, I can't. He's got a waiting list of 1,000 people too. I've got a waiting list of 1,000 people. So anybody that comes and enjoys our experience and goes, hey, where should we go tomorrow? It's like, or where should we go next? I'll be like, yo, go try Sushi Bar. Go try sushi. Sushi Bar ATX is now a different company now, but his is called Sushi by Scratch, Sushi from Scratch.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
And so it's like one of those things where it's really great to be able to again support each other in this way, because it's just so much less stress, and you're not in competition with anybody. There's no anger anywhere. It's just like it's just great. It's like same thing. It's like the podcast world. It's like this idea. It's like, why are you gatekeeping? It's like this idea that like the Joe could give a shit that anybody else went on anybody else's podcast and once you got on his, or vice versa. I mean, nobody, like, it doesn't, whatever. And so but yeah, it's a cool experiment. It's a lot of fun, and it's something, like I said, and there's probably 6 or 7 of them in Austin now. and I hope there's 30 by
It's
the end of
such a
next year,
cool experience, dude. It's so
because the people having those type of experience begets more people who like that experience, right? If
yeah.
it gets to the point, like I said, it will saturate at one point. We probably couldn't sustain 10,000 of them, but at one point in time, the more people that eat and enjoy that experience, and it's a once a month or once every 3 month type experience, that they just work through the rotation. It's going to take them a year to try all of them, but great,
Yeah.
because we're on that rotation, right? So you went to Sushi by Scratch then over there, and now you're coming over to us, and then the next week we're going over to Otoko, and the next week we're going over there. It's like I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if they all feel that way. I hope they do. If they don't, that's not on me. It's on
for
them. But for me, I'm like, yo, every time they always ask me, hey, what do you think about this place? What do you think about this? Yo, go try it, man. Let me
I
know. See what you think.
So I'm very curious. So because as you were talking, once you told me your Chinese restaurant, the Farm to Table, I was cycling, and I've been like, that's one of the things I love of Miami. There's so many different restaurants. It's amazing. I go to new ones all the time. And I was cycling through my head, like you were saying, like takeout Chinese. Growing up, that was like kind of, I'd say it was probably like a weekly thing. Like one night of the week we'd get pizza, one night of the week that we would just get Chinese
Yep.
takeout and like sesame chicken, fried right. Like so, I was trying to think. I can't even picture what that is like, and I'm very curious. Like I'm gonna come to Austin to try, and obviously I know the sixth person. I probably won't be able to get there that quickly. But my question to you is: in Miami, do you know of a Chinese restaurant that is like what you're with?
I
Obviously,
don't. I haven't been to Miami a lot. I mean, I can probably do a little research for you. I know, um, a place in Philly. There's a couple really high end ones. Han Dynasty up there in Philly is wonderful. Um, I know that the crustacean group and stuff out of in LA is great. They're good friends of mine. And
okay,
I think it's funny. The irony of the whole thing is when I go to Houston, now there's been even a couple of new ones that opened up in Houston are similar. I still go to these hole in the wall, who knows what kind of mystery meat I'm eating type places. But
it's good.
that's
Whatever it is,
it's
it's good.
good. What are you gonna do? It's good. And so, yeah, like I said, I think my mentality isn't that we are the end all be all and that's the way everything should be done. I saw a market that felt like there was room for us, for people who cared about this. I remember we got some feedback early on from a lot of students that were like, well, this is good food, but man, who's paying, $18 for a Kung Pao chicken, right? And I'm like, well, someone who cares that they're eating organic chicken versus
Yeah,
maybe you're not our target. Maybe if you're okay with eating, and don't get me wrong, I'm okay with eating, a Jack in the Box chicken sandwich,
yeah,
well, then maybe Tumble 22, this kind of nicer chef driven Nashville hot chicken place that we love in town. Maybe that's not your market. Maybe that's not, maybe it's not worth it for you. It's a value based, and you set the value. So maybe a meal is never worth $20 to you. Same thing with
yeah,
sushi. Like if you're okay with HEB grocery store sushi for $12, like yeah, $125 omakase 2 hours long meal seems outlandishly crazy to you.
yeah.
But for a lot of people, they're like, yeah, I spend that at a normal high-end sushi restaurant. So let's try it out. So it's not for everybody, and we don't pretend to be, but I do feel like it is in the city that needed this to be filled. And there's a lot of that type of cuisine. I traveled pretty far to go try Nigerian food, because there's this one little place in the strip mall that had Nigerian food. I went, tried it. I loved it. It was wonderful, but I don't have anything to compare it with. I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's bad. I've never been to Nigeria, and I've got Nigerian friends that I've tried their food and I thought it was great. So there's a lot of foods that are still kind of underserved in our community. But we're young in the food game in Austin. When I got here, there was probably not enough room in the market for this type of Chinese restaurant, but with advancements and with 1,000 people moving here a week,
Yeah.
it creates this opportunity, and I think it's been great to see that. So
Dude, well, I just want to say this, and you don't need any validation from me. And this actually, it's for some reason it's weird to say, but I think you're like a beautiful person, dude. That's what comes to mind. Like, and I mean that. I
oh,
don't say,
bro,
I mean it
thank you, man.
because the way that you just speak is like you. I think you like really, you're well thought out on your stuff.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
it's very nice to hear, and just like seems very good hearted. Just intentions are everything seems. I think your parents did a great job. It seems.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
but what I want to do to leave it to you is if there's anything we didn't cover, please share it. And then where can people stay in touch, like socials, restaurant, anything you want to share with them?
Yeah, my social is, I'm fairly active on social media. Everything I'm on is at CK Chin, spelled out SEEKAYCHIN. Everything, Instagram, Twitter. I'm on TikTok, but I have yet to make anything on there. It's really more of a mindless scrolling place, but I know that eventually might have to happen. I'm dreading it. Maybe my son will do it. Um, no, I mean, I think I love what you're doing, man. I think that this conversation, these kind of longer format conversations, even though it's only 45 minutes or whatever, I think that this is a lost art form. I don't think people do this as much. I think that texting and emailing and stuff, and these real fast kind of bite-sized things have taken over our world. And I think that sitting down and having these conversations, whether you're on a podcast or not, um, I would encourage that for people. I think that, I would say that if you have friends that you've been friends with a long time and y'all talk text all the time, pick up the phone and call them. You'd be surprised, or grab a coffee. You'd be surprised at what you won't know about them and what you've learned and stuff. And especially after this fucking crazy 2 years, 3 years, junior year of COVID right now that we're going into, you know, how wonderful it would be to connect with people again in this way. And so I really appreciate you just reaching out to a random stranger. It means a lot. And it's great. And I'm glad I was able to have this conversation with you, and be glad to do it again sometime.
Awesome, man. Thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I'll let you know if I ever write a book.